We're back. We're back.
Your
We're
mom's
here. We're
back.
here for you. US Fan TV. It's Tuesday. It's 9 p.m. here in the Central Time Zone of the United States of America. We're going to talk about soccer things as they relate to the US. There's lots to talk about because last week TJ and I were both sick with the deadly flu that's going around, which was not fun. And Chris was in Spain, which is a much better thing. By the way, how was
I
Spain?
was. It was awesome. I am wearing the jersey I picked up when I went to see uh, Senior Messi play. Uh, I don't. I mean, I know that Maradona gets the 10, but man, if Messi could just win a World Cup, I think I'd be willing to say he's better.
Yeah, it's really the only thing holding him back. Do you know where Naperville Central High School is? I do. I do. I have been there, believe it or not. Um, yes, he that's from Kumquat on the chat there. If you have questions for us, you can type them in and we'll answer them. Yeah, Messi's the only thing he needs is the World Cup.
I
And
don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I will be
no.
pulling for Argentina this summer. I think probably they're who I want to win this year. Um, I maybe as a team, I like Germany more. If I'm looking at just maybe players and how I consider them or something. But I'm kind of pulling for Argentina to finally win one. I'd like to see Messi take home a trophy. I mean, I feel like if there's anybody in the world who kind of deserves one, if you can say somebody deserves one, I think he's probably the only guy who could say maybe deserves one.
How was Spain other than our friend Leo Messi scoring two goals for
The
you?
food was awesome. The weather was good enough. I mean, it was
It's
a few days
January.
it was like high in this low, maybe around 60, low 60s, somewhere in there. Um, so it wasn't like we were wearing a jacket every day, but it was a hell of a lot warmer than Milwaukee is right now.
Yeah, that's not a bad place to be. I was coughing and lying on the couch. I suspect TJ was the same. Um, yeah, so we hope you get it, Chris, because you deserve to get
Because yeah, I'm not sick enough. I
the
don't
flu.
have constant issues with like respiratory things. Anyway, enough of that. Uh,
Uh, yeah, what were you gonna say? Did you have something that you needed to
I
say?
was just gonna say, soccer related. Yeah, it was awesome. Go to Barcelona if you get a chance, and go to a game. It is pretty easy to get into Camp Nou. I suppose aside from you know
Yeah, I was gonna
when they're
ask
playing when they're playing like Real.
how much were the tickets and how many empty seats were there for this? Because this was not a
There
La
were a
Liga
fair number of
match.
empty seats up like in the top of the stadium. If you watch the highlights from the game, or if you go back and if anybody watched the game live, um, you could definitely tell that there were empty seats like high up in the stadium. But it was fairly full for a weeknight 9:30 game.
Because the thing I don't
Um,
get is you have Messi there. Like,
yeah,
go see him every chance you can.
Messi, Suarez, Iniesta. Like, I mean, realistically, almost everyone that you wanted to see play played that game. You know, um, it was kind of incredible that I had sort of been hoping when they drew the first leg of that Copa del Rey match or series that there'd be a real team that they'd field
Yeah,
in the
because they
second
need
game
to. Yeah,
because they needed the win. I wasn't certain Messi would play, but I mean, yeah, they pulled him in like the 50th minute, but at that point it was already 4-0, so it didn't matter. Um, that was like the only thing keeping him, I would say, from scoring a hat trick. And now I've seen him play twice. He hasn't even, I think, between the two games, played a full 90 minutes,
but
and
he's
he has
got 5
five
goals.
goals.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right.
But Suarez looked good. Iniesta looked like Iniesta. Mascherano was out there. Like it was
Yeah,
whatever.
but
I mean, and
but
and
Chris,
then they go to like guys like Dembele, off the bench, in his first return from injury. It was awesome.
Yeah, Chris, but that's really no different than like Michael Jordan with the six when the Bulls were winning their six titles playing the Bucks. Everybody looked
Yeah,
good playing
yeah.
the Bucks. When you're a really good team and you're playing a bad team, you're gonna look really, really good.
No, I
Oh,
mean that's absolutely true, but um, at the same time, Messi does this against everyone. Like maybe he doesn't always have a hat trick, but I mean he humiliates. As I've said on the show multiple times, he is the one player in the world that I don't know how he does the things he does. Like I can figure out how Ronaldo does stuff. I'm not saying I can do it myself, but I understand like the physical action of it or the physics of it. There are things Messi does I cannot figure out. I've watched it in slow mo. I've tried to figure it out. Like, what is he doing there? How does because it doesn't like the way he seems to touch the ball. I can't figure out how it does what it does. That like it skips past this defender. That this defender just completely misses it.
well, but Chris, you're old enough to remember Wayne Gretzky when he was playing, and even Lemieux and Mario Lemieux in the same
I don't want to
context.
talk about that guy.
But just in the sense of they do things you don't see because they're already seeing things so far ahead or they're seeing nuances,
Yeah, yeah,
so they can do things. Well, you're still watching the ball. They're already three steps past it, so they already know what they're going to do with it. And
yeah,
then the only one I could think of with that kind of vision really was Wayne Gretzky, where he was just doing
yeah.
things because he was seeing things two and three steps ahead. Oh, by the way, I think we can shut off the comments section. I think Christian Astorga won it with as Arsenal fans, are you guys willing to welcome Real Madrid into the Europa League next year?
Arsenal makes the Europa League next year.
Yeah, God.
Um, here's the thing that we need to talk about because this is a weird thing that we need to talk about, and I didn't expect we would be talking about this, but Landon Donovan is a player for Lyon now.
Landon Donovan?
What is this? Now, here's the
I've
thing.
been waiting. I've been wait. I wait. I don't get any notice. I've been waiting to pull this
Landon.
one during the show. Yeah, Landon Donovan.
Okay.
And the fact that he's number 20. Don't say
Was
zero.
that on
Yeah.
purpose? That's
Yes,
amazing.
yes, it was on purpose. They say, according to those who know him, he is a little bit of a troll in the sense that he'll do things like that. So yes, I guarantee it was on purpose.
I want to go see him.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think
I want to go to a Leon game and I want to go see him.
people are like some people were like, "Oh my God, is he going to tarnish his legacy?" You know what? Did Michael Jordan tarnish his legacy by going to the Washington Wizards? No, everybody forgot about it. So if Landon sucks, everybody's going to forget about it.
Yeah, I
And
mean, if he sucks, and realistically, it's not like he's coming to play 90 minutes.
no,
He's probably
it's
coming
yeah,
in as like a 70th, 75th minute sub or something. And I'm not willing to say he can't do it. I mean, is he going to be the best player on the field? I doubt it. You know, it's a better league than MLS, and his knees were wearing out in MLS near the end. But when he made that comeback with the Galaxy, 2 years ago now, while he looked rusty maybe right in the beginning, by the end there, he was playing 90 minutes and was playing
yeah,
decently.
yeah. He was fine.
So
He wasn't quite the level that he was, but he was fine. And that, considering that he had almost no time to train before that, I think with this, he's maybe has been training. So,
I think still, you guys each have two kids. He has two kids. You guys know how this works. His wife got sick of him sitting around the house and said, "Go out and play." So
yeah,
he did.
there's probably something to that. Just wanted to go do something. He's bored. He wanted to see if he could still do it. He probably always did. He's probably not lying. He probably always did want to play in Mexico. He's always had kind of a
I mean, he was so
attachment.
close to going to Club America anyway.
Yeah, it's. I think it's cool. I don't think that we need to be like upset at him or pissed at him or any. I don't understand those feelings at all. Like, good for him if he wants to go do this. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he's great. And it sort of reminds me of how a Leon fan must feel like we felt when Blanco came to the Fire.
Maybe.
Old man Blanco. I spent my life hating him, but I learned to love him
But those
because
fans sure did show up in numbers to
they did.
welcome him.
They did. I was
Like
impressed. So
what an entrance for a guy who, yeah, was kind of like their biggest, like the center point of their hatred for so long.
So people were asking this earlier. Does he ever play for the national team again? You know what's weird? I was tired. I hadn't had
I
coffee.
say no, but
I'm reading this on my phone when I wake up. I'm like, that really happened? Is this true? my first thought was, oh my God, I wonder if he'll be ready for Russia. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, no, he won't. Yeah, there was about 2 seconds where I had that in my head and I got excited, and then I remembered.
Yeah. You know, I don't see him playing for the U.S. again, because what's the point? I mean, sort of like everything else we've talked about, even if you discount what happened a few months ago, you still got the matter of age. And what's the point in bringing in guys who, I mean, I didn't even like to jump ahead, like Iko Para making the January camp. I had in my notes of like my predictions for the call ups for January, I listed him as guys who are possible, but I saw he's just too old. Like, what's the point? You know, I don't see a point in him, Beasler, Omar Gonzalez, anybody like that. And Donovan's even older. I mean, Donovan was better than those guys, even if you count them. You know, if you rank them by their respective positions, he's far and away better than them. But at 35, he's not coming back. There's no point.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second.
I think
because it's fun to fuck with you, Chris. It's fun to fuck with you. Let me play devil's advocate here. Okay, 4 years from now, let's say he's still playing in Lyon. He's playing part-time starter most of the time, like you said, 60, 65th, 70th minute sub. Wouldn't you like to have somebody like that, even if he's still playing at that high of a level in a few years, coming off your bench in the 70? You know, we talked about what we thought.
Like we talked about with Dempsey, yeah.
Should have been what Herc Gomez should have been 4 years ago instead of trying it with Wondolowski. But somebody like that, who is a veteran, who knows how to stall the game, who knows how to get the goal, find those spots, can't do it for 90 minutes, but could probably do it for 15 or 20 minutes. Would you bet against somebody like him?
At almost 40?
I mean, I was going to say 40.
I certainly wouldn't bet for him. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's not like there aren't guys who've played in the World Cup at 40. I think, what is it? Like, it's like some Saudi Arabian. It was like a defender who was still playing at like 40. But
I've got 3 words to answer that, to counter that point all the way through. Tom fucking Brady. If you can do it now at that age, you can still do it.
It's not a bad point.
I think quarterback's different though, because it's a relatively stationary position. You know, you don't need to run as much at that position. You set him up well, and he kind of just has to take his 3 steps and throw.
Okay, if you want me to go to somebody like Carl Lewis, I mean, who was still doing that up in his late 30s. I'm not talking somebody who goes in and plays 90 minutes. I'm talking somebody 65th minute who comes on either to score a big goal or to run out the clock. If he's, like I said, this is under the presumption he still has anything left in the tank. He may not. He may be Michael Jordan with the Wizards, and he may just suck. I'm just saying there is precedent for him to be good.
I'm not counting on him to suck. You know, while I think maybe Lyon is sort of turning to him because it gets, you know, butts in seats, or it gets viewers or whatever, and maybe they can sell some more jerseys north of the border. I think, you know, I don't think Donovan would be doing this just as a publicity stunt. You know, I think if he's going to go out, he feels like he can still play somehow. Having said that, this was a guy whose knees were pretty well shot 3 or 4 years ago. And now we're going to say that in another 4 years, he could be conceivably playing at any level. I struggle to believe that.
I would put the percentage on that at less than 1%. I'm just saying.
Okay. Yeah.
1-2%. I'm not saying it's a feasible. I'm saying, could it potentially be possible? You're saying his knees are shot. We're that much further medically along. And again, now I'm going to change sports because it's usually I can find a better analogy on it. When Shaquille O'Neal went to Phoenix, when he was pretty much washed up with Miami and wherever else he was playing, he found a new training regimen and he took off again. A couple of years of not having that pounding on his knees. And let's face it, the end of Landon's time in MLS, some of those fields were shit and they're still shit. Will he face that in Mexico? Sure. To the same degree? Not as much. So, like I said, a part-time player, would I rule it out? Absolutely not. If you're whoever comes in to take over this side, if he's playing well, why wouldn't you give him a run out and see if he can do it for 15 or 20 minutes?
There's something to be said for having some veteran presence in the locker room too. And I don't know that Landon's the guy, but Landon doesn't have the tarnish of not qualifying for the World Cup like a lot of those guys do, like Bradley and Josie and Clint. Landon can wear a 2-0 jersey because he's
he never
always
fucked
did
that
that.
one up.
Never fucked that up.
Tarnish
fact,
tarnish the right word, or is stench?
It might be. But yeah, it's I say good for Landon. I don't see him with the national team ever again, but you know what? If he does in a Gold Cup or something, I would be excited to see that. So he's not going to be around for the Qatar World Cup, and who the hell knows if that's even going to happen, because now they have to get
will Qatar be around for the World Cup?
now they have to get Iran to help them host the games. It came out today in was it in the Guardian? I can't remember. It's
one of those.
That
the Sun,
thing
I don't remember.
They need to pull the plug on that thing right now.
So now we're going to go with a slave state and essentially a terrorist state.
Yeah, that hates women.
The whole a state under Sharia law.
You can't drink
under Sharia law. You can't drink, you can't gamble, you can't do any of the things that all go nuts around World Cups.
Except the problem is the rest of the Middle East has already told Qatar to go fuck themselves.
Yeah, well, I know
that's why they're
down to Iran, and that's why when you say like, you could say, oh, I'm painting a broad brush when I say like basically a terrorist state in Iran, but that's why the rest of the Middle East doesn't want anything to do with them. Like that's why they cut ties with Qatar, was they didn't like that they were so tight with Iran, because it makes them all look guilty.
We brought this up with Russia, but it's a lot more serious, and who knows what the political climate will be in 5 years or whatever, but 4 years, I guess now. But would we, if we qualified, actually go play in that country? Would Israel play games in Iran? Like if they actually made the World Cup?
I can't imagine that this, this goes far beyond the questions of like, after Trump was elected and the talk about the U.S. hosting a World Cup, and if certain people aren't allowed on travel lists and things, this goes way beyond that. Like, okay, certain people might not be allowed in this country, and I won't start getting all politically, but I'll just say, like, totally unfairly, certain people may be not allowed in this country. People might die there. Like, there are threats that if you enter this country, we might murder you.
And the proof that we ever needed that it is unfair about some people they're not letting some people in the country, and yet they let you back in. So therefore,
that's true.
We've already made that point that it's not always a fair system.
I don't know how you pulled that off, but
depends on who we're looking at as fair.
It's Australia would have been really nice. There's lots of places. Argentina would be awesome to go see a World Cup there. China would be wonderful to. They're a huge country that deserves to host one sometime soon. There are lots of places. Qatar is not the place for the fucking 2022 World Cup.
So let's throw this out there. Obviously, if 2026 is going to the United States, or CONCACAF, which is essentially what's being talked about.
If Hope Solo can land it for us.
Well, yeah, there's that. So let's just say that happens. Where does 2022 go? Because Qatar, even if you read, other than the point of Iran being needed because Qatar isn't ready, but the lack of ready, what they're saying, not 12 stadiums, maybe 8, maybe 25-30% of the rooms required.
Yeah, I mean, how many countries are there in the world that could host something like that of that scale on a whim? England, Germany, the U.S., which will be the next host around. Australia might be able to do it. Japan might be able to do it with maybe with South Korea again. I mean, I
think you nailed it with China.
Maybe
China would get its shit together, and China would do a good job. I know they would. So look what they did with the recent Olympics they had. There may be crumbling stadiums now, but they got their shit together for the actual event. So
2022 North Korea. Well played, illegal horizon.
There's no food to feed the athletes, but
but in the sense of China dumping as much money into their top flight league, maybe they have they can put together 10 stadiums or 8 stadiums or whatever to be ready. I'm just saying, as a fallback, I think China would be, and because it's also part of the same confederation, I think it would be your best bet.
Yeah, true. There's that too. So, but if we're going to pull the plug on it, we better do it now. Should have done it 2 years ago. Should never have awarded it at all. Should have reversed it after we found out all the corruption associated with it and this summer's World Cup. But what can you do now? Hey, you know what? It's time for Mexico Fan Channel and the other El Tri fans to brag and be happy because they got Jonathan Gonzalez, which is not something that surprised me in the least. Like I said on this show, why wouldn't he go play for them? They've got their act together so much more than we do right now. And it also seemed like when he was saying, you know, I feel pretty American, that seemed like a come get me Mexico cry. And you know, we fucked it up. We didn't call him into a meaningless, in the most meaningless game we've played since I've been a fan of this team. The friendly right after missing the World Cup in Portugal.
And turns out called him.
And we didn't even call him. And we said somebody said he wasn't ready, but we had non-professionals there.
Yeah.
You know,
who cares even if he wasn't ready? What difference does it make? It was a meaningless game. Like
wasn't he left out though because his side was in a playoff or getting ready?
It's possible certainly that the view was taken that he had more important games to play and there was nothing to play for here, so why not wait? Having said that, tell him that. Like no one said anything to him. This is what astounds me. This is where I have to say everyone at US Soccer should lose their jobs. You should all.
It's ridiculous. But I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. Like he goes to Mexico. He's got a lot of success.
Of course, if I'm listening to some Arsenal fans that at least Pat and I know, when people said that things like why would Aubameyang come to Arsenal right now? You know, why wouldn't Alexis? Why wouldn't Ozil? Why wouldn't everyone else just leave? Because they can, and this is a sinking ship right now. I was told or heard, really, how self-hating are we as fans? It's like.
Well, let me again, because I can fuck with you, Chris, and it's more fun to do so. You're saying that U.S. soccer screwed up by not polishing the knob, giving him whatever rub and a tug he needed to make him happy, make him feel loved, even though he's been with the U.S. side all along. Okay, bring him into a meaningless friendly. The U.S. is still not going to the World Cup. Mexico is.
Right. Oh, I know. I'm not saying
it doesn't matter.
Is he good enough to play in the World Cup for Mexico this summer? I don't know that he is. I don't know that he's. I think
maybe he gets a shot, kind of like Julian Green or something.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the promise that got him to come over. But does he fit in that team right now? I struggle to see where.
I would have preferred to have him, but I don't blame him for going. And I'm not saying he might end up being a fantastic player. I don't know that he is yet. He's still young, but he had a very nice season. So I think he'll end up being. He's somebody that I wish we would have gone after. I mean, why not? Like that's the one thing.
I guess, I mean, it disappoints me. Yeah, it disappoints me because U.S. Soccer clearly fucked it up, and you can say, the deciding factor was the World Cup, and I won't deny that. But my feeling is, you didn't even try. Like you just, I think, kind of, took it as a given that he would stay with us, and what a foolish thing to do. I don't see us getting kids who were born and raised in Mexico, and somehow they have American citizenship, and if
unless
the choice
they
is
have
there,
some sort of Mormon thing that went on, like what's his name, the goalkeeper?
Unless what?
Well, what's the goalkeeper
that?
Why can't
I say there aren't nearly as many?
Why can't I remember his name now? He played for us.
As I say, there aren't nearly as many examples there. But if this was a situation reverse, I don't see us getting him no matter what. If
William Yarbrough, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Robert.
I don't see us getting someone like that regardless, if the situation's reversed. This was a kid born and raised in the U.S., grew up in our system, and we let him slip away because we just didn't take care of him. Like, that's just ineptitude.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I guess what really upsets me about it. Because in the end, you're right. He's not proven yet. Who's to say he'll ever truly develop into the star that everyone hopes he will be? But
I don't want to be on the receiving end of him being amazing for Mexico.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
So
okay, maybe it's only 2 in 10 of those, 1 in 10 of those kids that everyone thinks, oh, he's the future, pan out. But if we let 5 of those 10 go, we're now down to hoping that one of the 5 or the one of those 10 still is ours. We're just losing our chances to have that one kid turn out to be, the real thing in our team. And to lose it to our biggest rival, it's foolish. It's just another enormous, incredible, ridiculous failure by U.S. Soccer in 2017.
even we've obviously failed in the small picture with him, like not actually reaching out to him and talking to him. Big picture, I think Kyle Martino's brought this up, and some of the other people running for president have talked about this. U.S. Soccer does a terrible job at reaching out and relating to the Mexicans and other Latinos who play in this country, where a lot of them don't have a huge sense of pride in the U.S. badge. I mean, there's most Mexicans I know cheer for the U.S. when they're playing and cheer for Mexico when they're playing, and they usually pick a side when the two are playing. There are some Mexico fans who hate the U.S. national team who live in this country. I don't know a lot of Mexicans who, and I'm sure they're out there, but I don't know any of them like this who love the U.S. national team and hate Mexico. It just,
well, to be fair, in looking at the current badge that they have, and even the past one, do you blame them? It's a shit show. It looks like shit. I wouldn't be proud of it either. Shit. I could design something better with pop art or whatever, Microsoft Draw or some shit like that.
the current U.S. badge, you're saying? See, I kind of like the current badge. It's a little bit
Yes.
Berlin 1936 for me, but it's I like it. It's the last one was terrible with the soccer ball flying. Like, where is it flying? Is it flying in the stands? Like, where? What? Why is it? Is this a goal kick?
If Wondolowski's kicking
It's
it,
Wando.
yes.
That's the Wando badge.
Well, there we go. Oscar Orozco says that he's Mexican born and raised in the USA. He loves the US, hates the Mexican.
I knew there was somebody out there who had to be
I've
like
seen
that.
some on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't know anybody personally like that.
There we go. Now we got somebody. Bravo, Oscar.
But like, there's the other thing. Like, these are soccer teams too. Like, you can be proud of both countries if you've got heritage in both countries, and then like a team and hate a team. These things are possible. It doesn't, it's hard for me to relate as a person who's, I don't have, my ancestors came here a long time ago, so I don't have a huge tie to Ireland or Germany like a lot of the, second generation Mexicans who live here now and maybe do feel a bunch of passion for their parents' homeland. So good for him. I hope he does well, just not too well. I hope he struggles against us mightily. But he seems like a good dude. Seems like he made a smart decision. I don't blame him one bit. So we haven't talked about the Camp Cupcake roster.
Well, really. I was going to say one thing while we're kind of on. We can get to the Camp Cupcake roster because after all, it is Camp Cupcake. But one thing I was going to note about, not reaching out, U.S. Soccer not reaching out to like minority communities in the U.S. or in some cases the majority of the soccer community in the U.S. We need to talk about Kyle Martino's manifesto because one of his points is that we do more to fund and to reach out to both Latino soccer players, but like inner city players. That we do more things that $1 of every ticket sold for every national team game, every MLS game, every NWSL, every NASL. $1 at least goes to funding some sort of like minority program, with the idea being that we can find more players in there. I think one of their comments is like, what if the next say Mia Hamm. I don't remember who the female player is there, but like Mia Hamm or Ronaldo
Yeah, he
already
said it
is
was those
in
two.
our system. We're just not drawing them
Right.
in because they don't fit. They don't live where most of the soccer fields are in this country.
Yeah, in Chicago, our the richest dude in Illinois is building a bunch of futsal courts around the city and putting them in you know lots of different kinds of neighborhoods so that people would maybe go play futsal instead of basketball or whatever other sport they'd be playing, and maybe you'd get some people interested in soccer that way, which I thought was kind of cool. It's not hard to play when there's a place to play in your neighborhood and it's free.
Yeah,
So
one of the things I liked about Martino's comments was that what's he call it? I wrote it. Oh, the over under initiative, which is that you build soccer goals underneath basketball hoops
like they do
in cities,
in a lot of places around the
like
world.
they do in a lot of the world,
Yeah.
and then yeah, you have a futsal court if you want to play there, and then you sort of make it like it is for basketball in the inner city, where all you need is a ball and you can do whatever.
Right.
There's no
go play.
expense to it. There's no need for like a lot of infrastructure. Everything's there.
And I've complained a lot of times on this show before. It's we have too few places, and we don't have enough kids who just go play soccer for fun. We have kids who will go work on their ball skills or kick a ball against a brick wall or go shoot in their backyard. There's tons of kids like that, but I don't see a lot of pickup soccer games. At least like I would imagine there being in Brazil or Argentina or places like that. We just don't do that. We have lots of pickup basketball games and other sports like that, but I feel like that's one area where we need to just go play the game more often than just at practice or at your regularly scheduled weekly games.
Well, and I think back to when I was a kid, I didn't play basketball, which you can tell my coordination level really wouldn't. But when I was a kid, we did a lot of pickup baseball, and you don't see that anymore either. So I mean,
that's true. Yeah,
it really has moved that way. With basketball moving in that way. No, I think that the Martino manifesto was actually correct in that there does need to be more initiative to bring more kids into the game at some level. I mean, and I'm not going to go on to pay for play or whatever, because I won't have anybody ever agree with me on that. There's a lot more to it than meets the eye, but I think I agree. The only place I ever remember pickup game is in Combs. When you lived in Champaign, you might remember that too. Is there was always one next to the president's house. Almost every afternoon there was a pickup soccer game, and it was grown ups, and you'd see some kids, but you're right. That was Champaign, Illinois. I mean,
yeah. I played in Champaign when I lived there, but
that was largely international students, though.
Yeah, I played with a bunch of Mexicans out at Parkland College when I lived in Champaign, so it wasn't like there was a bunch of white college kids going to play there. It was Mexican people, so they do it, but I don't know that many other ethnic groups in the U.S. do it. So
King Leipzig is calling you Uncle TJ tonight.
Well,
I was going to laugh before that we're all hat guy tonight.
Well, he is my internet son, so we'll kind of let that one go.
Nice. Yeah. Do we have any? I guess we'll do Camp Cupcake in a minute, but we were just talking about with Kyle Martino. Has anything jumped out at you guys about this shit show of a U.S. soccer presidential race? It seems, like I said last time we did a show, it seems like there are 2 or 3 candidates. If it was a public race, it would seem that Eric Winalda and Kyle Martino would be your 2 front runners, but I'm never going to underestimate what Kathy Carter is doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think it's a 3-horse race right now, and Winalda's getting good support from some of the lower league voters. I don't know how that's translating into like full vote representation. Like some of the
it's hard to tell. Yeah.
I don't know
10 clubs on Twitter say we're supporting Eric Winalda. What are the other hundreds of them doing? And
exactly.
And then there's whole there's a whole system of how each vote is weighted a certain way because of the number of voters within each of the groups that has a certain amount of votes. It's really complicated.
Well,
and most of the votes, I would venture to say, we have no clue.
Well, we know 14%.
What?
We know Kathy Carter starting with 14% of the vote. MLS says 14% of the vote. That will all go towards her.
Right.
So that puts her already a step ahead. And
she's already broken.
I mean, whether you think that it should be, you know, Wijnaldum because of his pro-Rel support, or whether you think it should be, you know, Kyle Martino or whoever you think it should be, I think almost everybody is united in saying that it's going to be really disappointing if she wins. Just to maintain the status quo in a time when there's absolutely no reason to maintain the status quo. I don't think we need to blow the whole thing up, but we definitely need to have some changes. And I don't know that any change comes with her other than, you know,
names.
Yeah, people lining their pockets. I just, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she'll surprise us all. But
one of the things I really liked about Martino's thing was that he pretty much calls out some and U.S. Soccer and says that, you know, calls them out on having no transparency, calls them out on he says they're too closely related, you know, that, and then when he gets into specifics, he talks about changing the bylaws so that he wants to change the conflict of interest policy to include constituents and affiliates. Now, I take it to, in other words, mean that someone like Some is then forced to operate independently or forced to operate within these guidelines. So if they have, you know, they couldn't get these sweetheart deals straight from U.S. Soccer or MLS or whatever, I kind of wonder if that won't cost him the election. But it is, I think, as everyone from the outside is concerned, an awesome thing to say. That, you know, these supposedly independent companies that are all operating in, effectively, they're monopolizing U.S. Soccer, would have to adhere to some sort of fairness policy, fairness doctrine.
You know, to me, it's one of those. I'm going to be the one that, you know, just, you guys are wrong. You guys are usually wrong about this kind of stuff. Eric Wijnaldum is just I've been on the record with him. I don't think you guys are still equating one simple fact. You guys are saying, well, Eric Wijnaldum is winning the public support. No, Eric Wijnaldum is winning Twitter. Again, back to something I have said time and time again. Twitter is not reality. I say it again.
It's not just that he's winning Twitter. Reality. I mean, I think you could say a number of people are doing well on Twitter. It's that he's getting, and maybe you can say it's just on Twitter that officially he's getting these votes, but he's getting support from actual organizations, not just individual people, and they're coming out on Twitter to say it. So,
but these organizations,
I don't think you can just say he's only winning Twitter.
I think he's only winning Twitter, and I think you're looking at some of them that.
And I think some of it is you just don't like Eric Wijnaldum.
Well, I don't like Eric Wijnaldum. I don't think. I don't sit there and think you. Well, I've got this great plan, but I can't tell you about it now. If you've got a great idea, you put it out there. You make everybody else say.
You do what Martino did. Yeah.
Yeah, you put it out. You put your manifesto out there and say, "Hey, here's my ideas. This is why you should vote for me." Not, "Hey, I've got great ideas, but you got to trust me on that."
I'll tell you about it as soon as you vote for me.
Yeah, as soon as you vote for me, I've got these great plans, and I'm going to put them all in that. No, that's not how it works. Soccer United marketing has outlived its time. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to dispute any of that. It has. However, when it was created, did it save MLS? Probably. It's the same thing as the single entity thing. Has it really outlived its usefulness? For the most part, it really has. But at the time it was required, and now, like I said, so you have to undo that. And when you're talking about people with more money than God, which is pretty much Soccer United marketing, MLS, those type of guys, they don't do it easily. They're not giving up money and giving up control and power easily. It's just not how it works. So it's got to be undone slowly. And if you try to, you have somebody like a Wijnaldum who's going to come in and throw the system into chaos, it's not going to work. it won't work. That's why it's got to be undone, and it's got to be undone slowly, or it's got to be undone through the courts in the case of the NFL. But my favorite player is myself. What
TJ's
the
favorite
fuck,
player is
Chris?
probably somebody on Guernsey FC. Never heard of, but
It's a third league Saudi Arabian player who
just loves him. He's just got TJ likes a good AR. If they stay in line, if their positioning is great, that's TJ that he gets excited about that.
TJ's favorite player is Mike Dean.
Oh my God! Don't bring up that fucker.
I also liked amongst the things in Kyle Martino's statement, I liked that he mentioned some kind of counseling for players near the end of their career. I thought some of the stuff was getting a little far, but what the point was that it's some sort of counseling to help bridge the gap into like getting them into coaching, so we can help improve the coaching down the line. It goes along with his thing about lowering the cost of coaching licenses.
Yeah, well, we've talked about that as being something.
I mean, pretty much everything he did was about adding or allowing more people to gain entry to the U.S. soccer system.
I did enjoy the page that he's got. Like he wanted to reach out to different groups, and he's got suggested people who might.
Oh yeah,
and so he's got like Robbie Rogers and Megan Rapinoe on these people will go after the gays, but the one that made me laugh was for the urban outreach. He had Edson Buttle, okay, black guy, and Deuce. Isn't Deuce from rural Texas? I know he raps.
He is,
but I don't know. I don't know.
I liked that fan experience or whatever it was. He's got Hey Dude in there because that guy's all about fan experience. Yeah. I was like, that was my favorite of his selections.
Christian brings up the one full-time scout thing. Yes, that's a problem. I don't think that you'll find. I think a lot of places have part-time scouts. We have more than one scout. We have one full-time scout. Obviously, in a country this size, we need more scouts, but it's not crazy. I think it was Leander that pointed out on Twitter that a lot of places have part-time scouts. So it's not as crazy as it sounds, but it's still we're missing people, obviously. So.
It does seem though, with $100 million surplus, we could find a way to maybe have a couple more scouts. I think maybe a few $100,000 could be allocated to some scouting issues
in a nation this large and diverse. Yeah.
And there goes Chris thinking again, which is a bad idea for anybody, really. So,
the Camp Cupcake roster is out. Do you care?
No.
I care to note that Josie and Bradley aren't on it. Hell, Kellen Acosta wasn't on it. I don't believe it's a very, very youthful.
There is an Acosta, but not Kellen.
Yes, there is.
Ian Harks is a Kellen, but not Acosta.
There's a Harks. So
yeah.
It's actually cool to see him on there. But whatever. It's whatever. I don't get excited about Camp Cupcake most years. This is even worse than most years. So
yeah, I'm not really concerned. The big thing to me was, like I said before, I don't get why Iko Parra is there. Even if
Giassi's there.
Yeah, Giassi.
I think he's got the most caps of anybody on the 30-man.
I think that's about right. At least Giassi fits age-wise. You still have to question. He kind of seems to have reached his peak, and I don't think it's enough that he'll ever truly fit there. So is it worth bringing him back anymore? But at least there you can say, okay, he's experienced and still fits the age range. My thing, I was looking at like Iko Parra. I don't have the rest of the list fully in front of me, but I still don't see any point in if these guys weren't making it 2 months ago and they're bordering on too old anyway. What's the point now? What are they going to offer you now or in 4.5 years that you weren't getting from them 4.5 months ago?
it is what it is. You need to come up with 30 guys. You can't take anybody from a league that's playing. But whatever.
Yeah,
That's why
I was kind of hoping if Tim Weah could get away from PSG, depending on what his playing situation is right now, that he would get called up.
the first son of Liberia.
Yeah, yeah. How about that?
Well, let me ask you guys this one. Seeing Camp Cupcake and all of its relevance, FC Dallas decided that none of their players could play because they're getting ready for the CONCACAF Champions League, which is probably about equally as important as Camp Cupcake. What do you get? I mean, good idea for Dallas, or should they have been released? I mean, what do you guys think? And
I don't think it matters. I think I mean, especially this year, I think CONCACAF Champions League has
Probably
more
is a bigger deal.
relevance.
Yeah.
So it's fine. I mean, this is just a winter workotut for some guys. It's
Yeah.
not. You're not,
it's
especially
an
when
extra
you're.
trial for some players who might not otherwise get it.
And if we had a full time, if Jurgen was still there, and we had some type of system in place, at least you could argue that maybe somebody would catch Jurgen's eye and get onto the roster that way. I mean, hell, Jordan Morris made the roster because Stanford was scrimmaging against the national team before the last World Cup. So but with Saracen there, it doesn't matter. Like none of it. And we're supposed to hype it up. We're supposed to make it, on USfanTV. If anything, we'd want to make it a bigger deal, right? I can't.
It is not.
I don't care. I honestly don't care. I'll watch the game, but
Yeah, I haven't even checked if that's a kid weekend for me or not. If I have the opportunity to go out and watch
as we get closer,
I
I'll
might
figure
go
it out.
watch it. I don't know.
We might do a show, but don't count on it. But yeah, Camp Cupcake normally sucks. Don't even care this year.
I'm looking at the roster, and I keep coming back to one word that sums everything up: meh. A lot of meh.
Whatever. All right, so we talked about Landon. We talked about Jonathan Gonzalez. We talked about Kyle Martino and Eric Winalda and Kathy Carter. We talked about the Camp Cupcake roster. We talked about Chris and his trip to Catalunya. I think we've covered it. Oh, people are talking about Christian Pulisic again. We've done like full shows on should Christian Pulisic go to Liverpool. Okay, let's start with Man United. No fucking way do I want Jose Mourinho going anywhere near Christian Pulisic. No way. First of all, Dortmund players, not the best track record going into Man United as it is. Second of all, Mourinho, no. Klopp, if I had to have him go somewhere in England, and I don't want him to, I would want it to be Liverpool. Unless my dream of Thomas Tuchel getting hired at Arsenal comes true, and then I would say he can come to Arsenal. But unless that happens, Klopp's the only guy I trust to have Pulisic on his team. And even then, no. I would still rather him stay at Dortmund. I hope I've been clear on that. I think you guys probably agree.
Well, and of the teams, considering him, really, I suppose United's the only team that maybe you could say is a better team right now than Dortmund. I mean, I guess realistically, Liverpool is, and that Dortmund just bombed out of Champions League and down into Europa. But so maybe on a head-to-head right now. But if you look at where they both might be playing next year, is Liverpool better than Dortmund? Maybe. United's the only team that I might say, okay, and I'm not saying they're necessarily a head-to-head better team right now, more that, yeah, but it's United. If nothing else, they'll buy enough players that they can't be. Yeah.
Yeah, historically, yeah, it would be cool. It would be amazing to see an American playing for that team. But the current fit with
it just hasn't worked out.
Yeah.
A few times.
But who's our last guy there? Spectre?
Spectre or
Did Timmy leave after Spectre?
What about Rossi? I mean, if we can say an American.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we developed him.
He was there as well.
Yeah, there's no reason to not have him. He seems happy
at
Dortmund.
Who's the guy on their bench right now? young kid, Matt something, isn't that his name? Blonde hair. Anyone?
These are things I should know.
I can't think of it, but anyway, there is somebody there right now, but it hasn't meant anything entirely yet. I think he's open to England, and I think he's a dual national. I can, but I can't think of what his name is. Anyway, Alan Gordon. Well played, Simon.
By the way, I will say Klopp after the Man City win when he was on NBC, that was hilarious. Did you see this, Chris? He's like, that was fucking great. He's like, oh, I thought we could say fucking America. It was outstanding.
No, guys, Mayaska is at Chelsea.
I'm looking at Man United's roster right now. I have no idea who you're talking about, Chris. So, a whole lot of nobody.
There it is. All right. While you dig that up,
Matt Olasunde.
That's right.
Boom! Take that, people.
All right. This is USfanTV. We do live shows Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern in the United States, 9 p.m. in the Central. For you, Sandra, 4 a.m. in Germany. Don't wake up for that. We're not good enough for you to wake up for. I didn't see her on here today, so clearly not. But yeah. So Tuesday nights. Will we do shows on Thursday nights? Sometimes. If we text during the day and there's something we really want to talk about, we'll do one of the old Thursday shows. But for now, we're guaranteeing you a Tuesday show unless Chris is in Spain or I'm sick or both. Tuesday shows are happening. Thursday shows maybe happen, but it's a special thing now. It's not a regular
time. Well played, Simon. Tinder time.
And then we'll still do like if major news happens or if there's a post match or something. But get down the road.
I think it's still unclear, Christian, if the CONCACAF Nations League would be a cap tying event because nothing's settled on what it would be. Presumably, it would be because it should be a FIFA match, but they have to determine how it'll happen, when it'll happen, what's going on with it before I think we can truly guarantee anything. But the presumption should be that yes, because it is a FIFA recognized match.
And if there's a CONCACAF Nations League, will there be pro-rel and will the U.S. get relegated?
I think that's the thing, isn't it? There is pro-rel in that. And yes, we'll probably get relegated. Because clearly we've shown that Trinidad is better than us. Yeah. What else? We have Twitter. We have Facebook. Although Facebook, it's harder for us to like actually market ourselves on Facebook now because we're news and Facebook doesn't like news anymore. So there's that. We have Instagram.
We just need to get some Russians working for us.
We do. Get them on that. We have YouTube. But you know that because you're watching. Subscribe, hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Thank you to the new subscribers who have shown up in the last month. It was more fun when we did these when we had hope. We're gonna get hope again though. It's gonna come back. There's guys to be excited about. So
if we get Hope Solo as president, do we get hope again?
That's what I'm talking about specifically. I want Hope Solo as president.
Okay.
So yes, because that would be fun. Chris has the campaign poster ready to go. What else? Is there anything else? No. Any final words, guys?
You're right, Alex. We don't use Instagram enough. We need to start doing that again. I was actually going to post some stuff recently, but some of the apps on my phone aren't working properly, so I haven't been able to edit the photos the way I prefer, so we haven't posted anything.
Let me tell you a quick story about Chris and photos. In 2005, at the Dos Acero game, I was photographed.
I'm a photographer.
He took a photo of me with Drew Carey, who was there as a photographer and a fan. I've not seen this photo. In 2005, we also went to England and we took a tour of Highbury, which was very exciting. They tore it down. I've been to the Highbury before it was torn down. I got that photo sometime around 2012. He was done with it then. So the moral of the story is here, never have him shoot your wedding.
Not true. I have shot 1.5 weddings, we'll say. I did excellent work.
5 years later, they saw those photos.
They did not take that long.
So if Chris is taking a photo,
so I was.
Yes, if Chris is taking a photo, you might not ever see it. So that's the problem with our Instagram. That's it right there. Yeah. TJ, do you have any final words?
I've got nothing tonight. Hope Solo for president.
Simon, how do you know how tall Chris is?
Si se puede.
That's
weird.
A
good. Yeah. How do you?
Because I think that you are 6'3", aren't you? Isn't that?
I am. Yeah.
Did you mention Craigslist yet tonight, Craig or Pat?
No, Craig. That's what that. See,
Pat's list, Craig.
Pat's list, yeah.
That's why he's our intern. Thanks, Leipzig. All right.
How did we meet JCS? TJ and I grew up together, playing soccer together as kids. After I moved to Wisconsin, Pat and I used to work in TV news together. Once upon a time, Pat was my intern.
I was at WCIA in Champaign, Illinois.
3 shit.
And now we've got Leipzig as an intern. I think we've got the better of the interns out of the group. Chris, what do you think?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Simon says I told him I'm 6'3". I don't know. I don't remember doing it, but who knows?
I'm 5'11". I don't know how tall TJ is, to be honest.
5'9", never changes.
There it is. It's going to change. You're going to shrink as you get older. That's what happens.
He's already.
I'm older than both of you. What are you talking about, Pat?
All right. Well, I'm talking about like when you hit your 70s. It's going to, if you're not dead by then. All right. Thanks, guys.
Most likely that'll be the case, and we'll still be doing the show then anyway.
Thank you for joining us tonight on this special edition, or I guess normal edition of USFanTV. You're done.
See you, everybody.